I get pulled over going to work. I get pulled over coming from work. I got pulled over in the stadium leaving the game. I'm still on property of the Buffalo Bills, and I got pulled over.
Being in college, I'd hit him dead in his damn head with the football.
New layers are spilling out about that Texas A&M trooper who shoved 2 black South Carolina players and baby. This is starting to look nothing like a heat-of-the-moment misunderstanding. Insiders are whispering that this wasn't some random flare-up on the field. No, big voices LeBron James, Marshawn Lynch, Shannon Sharpe are all stepping forward, pulling the curtain back on what they're calling a full-blown cover-up. And the way they're talking, they're saying this man had no business carrying a gun, a badge, or even standing on that field. Because let's be honest, if this is how he behaves in front of tens of thousands of people and national cameras, what on earth happens in the dark, off the record, with no witnesses? And thank God those 2 players kept their composure. The maturity, the focus, it's honestly unbelievable. They went right back to the game, refusing to let one man's ego ruin their careers, their scholarships, their lives. But that doesn't mean we just let it slide. Because the deeper people dig, the uglier this gets. So here's what actually went down. During that Texas A&M versus South Carolina matchup on November 15th, Nick Harbor and Oscar Attaway were jogging back after scoring a touchdown energy high, adrenaline pumping when out of nowhere, the trooper cuts in. The viral clip shows him stepping right into their path, shoving Harbor, then pointing at him and yelling like he was desperate to start something. Seconds later, security and A&M police swooped in, and the trooper was immediately yanked off game day duty while the Texas Department of Public Safety scrambled to announce an internal review. Hours later, DPS tried to calm the storm with a crisp statement. Our Office of Inspector General is aware of the incident and will be further looking into the matter. No additional information will be released at this time. Translation: we're hoping this blows over. But the internet had other plans. The video spread like wildfire. Fans, athletes, commentators, everyone jumped in. And then LeBron James chimed in, and that's when the whole situation exploded. LeBron didn't mince a single word. He straight up called it premeditated. Said that A&M cop needed to be suspended immediately. Corny AF, he wrote. He went out of his way to start some ish. Do better, man. Then Marshawn Lynch added his voice, and his tone was even more chilling. He said he wasn't surprised at all, not after what he's lived through. Marshawn has been loud and unapologetic about racial profiling in his career, and he's openly claimed that racist cops are the reason he left the Buffalo Bills in the first place. And when Marshawn Lynch says he's not shocked, that tells you everything. This wasn't just a shove. This wasn't just a moment. This was a glimpse into a much bigger, deeper, uglier pattern, and people are finally calling it out.
I get pulled over going to work. I get pulled over coming from work. I got pulled over in the stadium leaving the game. I'm still on property of the Buffalo Bills, and I got pulled over. They were still trying to figure out how I got dreadlocked. That's a up feeling. You feel me? I go in here, rush for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and look up and I see the billboard on the stadium, and behind I see them cherries and berries with 5-0 on me. I'm about to turn off the car. So I give my agent like, hey, you gotta make something happen for sure.
So you asked to be moved out of Buffalo?
Yeah, that's how serious it was.
Meanwhile, Shannon Sharpe jumped in with his own take. And you know when Unc speaks, he doesn't sugarcoat a thing. He actually praised those 2 young players for holding it together, calling their level of restraint damn near superhuman. But then he admitted something that made the internet stop for a second. Shannon said that if a trooper had shoved him like that back in his college days, oh, he would have snapped. No hesitation, no deep breath, no walking away. And that's exactly why everyone's so shaken, because if even Shannon Sharpe, a Hall of Famer who's seen it all, says the situation was wild enough to make him lose it, that tells you just how out of pocket that trooper really was.
Yeah. Being in college, I'd hit him dead in his damn head with the football. I'm just telling just knowing me in college, Ocho, because I'm not going to be as professional as I am in an NFL setting. I'd hit him dead in his damn face with that football.
You hit him dead in his face and you see that uniform he wearing?
I don't give a damn about that uniform. He had that uniform on when he bumped into 2 19-year-olds.
Okay, I see you.
I mean, Ocho, they try. If you go look at the one on the right, I think it was 27. He actually tries to move. He tried to inch out the way, and then you gonna bump it up and then turn around and point.
Listen, I
don't worry about it.
I don't know what's wrong with the cop. Obviously, he's in the wrong. If anything, you could have got skinny and slid through them boards real quick.
Come on, man.
Problem.
And then comedian Godfrey stepped into the conversation, and you know when Godfrey comments, he's not holding anything back. He said straight up that the whole thing looked intentional, like the trooper didn't just accidentally bump into those players. He lined himself up for it. Godfrey pointed out something a lot of people missed. The trooper wasn't even supposed to be in that tunnel at that moment. He wasn't positioned there. He wasn't stationed there. He walked over right after the touchdown, almost like he was waiting for his moment just to get in those players' faces. According to Godfrey, that wasn't confusion. That wasn't crowd control. That was a man going out of his way to stir up a confrontation, and he picked the wrong two athletes to try it on.
And then all of a sudden you see this state trooper walk in between them, like purposely bumping them. And they're like, yo, what the f? And he's like, you get out of here. Got real violent, like belligerent with them. I'm sitting here like, what the f just happened? I go, yo. And by the way, guys, there's a long version of this video. They're only showing the short version. I have the longer version of this video. He actually was standing at his post watching the touchdown happen. Yeah. And then he decided to navigate his way over so that he could put himself in position to bump these dudes like he was a high school bully from the 80s.
And honestly, Godfrey has a real point, because the media immediately tried to spin this as some altercation between the players and the trooper, like there were two sides going at it. But let's be clear, there was no altercation, none. It was the trooper who tried to spark one. And that's what scares people. Because if this man feels bold enough to shove black college athletes on camera in a packed stadium during a nationally watched game, then what on earth is he doing when there aren't cameras? When the lights are off? When the players aren't protected by a crowd of 80,000 witnesses? That's why people are saying his entire record needs to be pulled apart every stop, every report, every complaint. Because this kind of behavior does not start on a football field. It starts long before. And here's where it gets even wilder. Some insiders floating around sports circles are whispering that this could have been more than just bad judgment, that maybe someone wanted to see a player rattled or injured, and that this shove wasn't just reckless. It was directed, premeditated. Now, whether that's just heated speculation or people reading the tea leaves a little too hard, who knows? But the fact that folks are even considering it says a lot. But if you ask me, this looks like something we've seen 1,000 times over the same old systemic pattern. Black athletes, no matter how talented, how disciplined, how celebrated, still end up in the crosshairs of aggressive policing. It's a painful truth with a long history. Situations that should be harmless suddenly escalate. Not because the athlete is a threat, but because of preconceived notions about who they are. These two players weren't yelling, they weren't provoking. They were literally walking away after a touchdown, and they still became the target. And this isn't new. From high school gyms to professional arenas, there are countless documented cases of black athletes being policed harder, penalized faster, and treated more aggressively than their white counterparts, often with no legitimate reason. They can be superstars, champions, professionals, and still not protected. Look at Sterling Brown. Back in 2018, the man was a Milwaukee Bucks rookie dealing with a minor parking situation, something that should have ended with a quick conversation and maybe a warning. Instead, Milwaukee police tased him, arrested him, and handled him like he was some kind of violent threat, even though he stayed mostly cooperative. Even fame couldn't shield him. And that's why people are so fired up right now, because what happened on that field wasn't just about one shove, it was a flashpoint in a much bigger, much older story.
down! Oh, they got tasers? Taser! Taser! Taser!
Illegal parking normally gets you a ticket on your windshield and maybe a dirty look, not an 8-minute interrogation surrounded by half a dozen officers, ending with a taser to your body. But that's the reality of driving while black in America. And when that video of Sterling Brown hit the internet, it blew up instantly. People were horrified. A calm, cooperative NBA rookie treated like a criminal over a parking spot. Eventually, the city cut him a $750,000 settlement. But let's be real, a check doesn't erase the humiliation, the danger, the trauma of knowing your life could have ended over something that petty. And Sterling didn't hold back afterward. He said publicly that what happened to him happens every single day in black communities. The only difference is, most of those people don't have fame, lawyers, or cameras to protect them. Seeing someone as visible and recognizable as him get treated like that, it forced the world to look straight at a truth people keep trying to sweep under the rug. When it can happen to a professional athlete on a well-lit street, surrounded by footage, you already know what's happening to everyone else in silence.
First, the police were saying that you were resisting, that you were being combative, but the video proves otherwise.
Exactly. Everybody thought I was combative, thought I was, being aggressive. But I get mad every time I watch it, because I was defenseless pretty much. This happens from coast to coast, it's something that's being shown more now that technology has advanced. And it's something that's been happening for years, and people's stories have not been told, people's stories have not been heard.
And then there's Tyreek Hill. In 2024, right before a game in Miami, the man wasn't thinking about touchdowns or game plans, he was thinking about surviving a traffic stop. Police pulled him over, yanked him out of his McLaren, handcuffed him, and pinned him down with a level of aggression that didn't match the situation at all. Even for a heated encounter, it was excessive. It was personal. Cops later claimed Tyreek was uncooperative, but the footage showed exactly what people feared: an officer slamming a superstar athlete onto the pavement like he was trying to make an example out of him. Even if Tyreek had attitude, and let's be honest, plenty of people get frustrated during traffic stops, that wasn't justification for an officer who clearly came in itching for a fight. It took just one cracked window, one tiny act of defiance, for that cop to snap. And that's the problem. If you can't control your anger, you have no business wearing a badge, let alone handling a firearm. And it's not just the pros, even college kids aren't safe. Back in 2020, Jalen Butler, a college swimmer from Eastern Illinois University, found himself with a gun pointed straight at his head during a routine stop. Officers screamed at him, threatened to shoot him, and treated him like a fugitive despite him doing everything right. Their excuse afterward? Mistaken identity. Yeah, of course. They'll say anything when it's time to protect their own. Jalen wasn't a threat. He wasn't armed. He wasn't aggressive. He was just a young black athlete who ended up on the wrong side of a cop with a shaky trigger finger, and that's the kind of story that keeps repeating, over and over again, no matter how many cameras are watching.
University is supporting Jalen Butler as Butler and the ACLU pursue a lawsuit against 6 law enforcement officials for allegedly threatening the swimmer at gunpoint and unfairly detaining him as the teen returned from a conference championship swim meet a year ago.
And let's be crystal clear. These aren't random, freak, one-off stories. They form a pattern, a very old, very familiar pattern where black men, from freshmen on scholarships to multi-million-dollar superstars, face policing that's harsher, quicker, and far more aggressive than what everyone else deals with. Those South Carolina players were in a tunnel, surrounded by cameras, officials, stadium staff, and thousands of witnesses just feet away. And still, that trooper felt bold enough to shove them and bark in their faces. If that's how he acts in one of the most monitored, well-lit, heavily staffed environments imaginable, then imagine what happens in the places without bright lights, without crowds, without cameras in the shadows where accountability disappears. That's the part that chills people. That's the part that makes this bigger than one shove on game day. But now, I want to hear from you. Was this just a trooper losing his cool for a split second? Or was this something more deliberate? Something calculated? Something that fits into a pattern we've seen far too many times? Do you believe black athletes are treated differently, even in public spaces where the whole world can see? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't go anywhere, because the next video? Yeah, you don't want to miss that one.